Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on our second episode of Behind the Sold Sign podcast with your host, Justin Saunier, and my colleague,
Sheila Kirkpatrick.
So today we're going to get into the December statistics, the market stats.
Yes.
Last week we had covered November, so it's going to be interesting to see how the 2 months kind of go hand in hand leading up to the end of 2023.
Absolutely.
After this topic, we'll talk about a pain point, one targeted towards buyers, one targeted towards sellers,
Yes.
and kind of provide a solution to those pain points throughout our conversation and help people watching this podcast that are interested in potentially buying or selling in 2024, helping them navigate that process.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, so let's dig into the December stats.
Okay.
So right off the bat, we immediately noticed some things, and I'm going to start with one, sales activity. That is the number that immediately stood out to me. So in November of 2023, 181 homes were sold.
Yes.
In December of 2023, we have 98 properties that were sold.
It dropped almost 50%.
Wild.
It is. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about last week, about last month's stats. The transition that happens in these months towards the end of the year and going into the first of the following year. It's something that we traditionally see year after year where the market tends to slow down. And because of that, we see lower number of sales. We see lower average sales price for the month. Mm-hmm. And that, again, has some rewards and benefits depending on if you're the buyer or the seller.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with that, the numbers that we were looking at is that approximately $286,000 was the average sales price for the month of December. And that is down substantially from that 303 number approximately that we were talking about last week. So when you see that, you're going, oh my gosh, if I was a buyer jumping on the market, that sounds like something I'd be interested in. So those waiting for those interest rates to drop may be waiting for something that isn't to their benefit. And then on top of that, the thing that I found very interesting was the average sales price year to date, because the average sales price year to date was approximately $303,519, if we're going to get specific.
Yes.
And with that number, it also aligned with the average sales price going up for the year, which resulted in being 4%. These buyers are waiting for that market crash, or the kind of the joke of the market crash, and for things to kind of go down. But what we're seeing is that they're still increasing. So 4% again over the year is kind of crazy to me. Who would have thought?
Right. So again, sales activity down, but that average price is still just creeping up.
And it's because the number of listings on market are so low, and that's what's driving things right now.
It's funny because when you look at stats, no matter what kind of market we're in, somebody is going to benefit. Who is going to take the data and benefit from it is the question.
Yeah.
So it's getting back to what we even said in our first episode. We're predicting interest rates to drop come the spring. And if that happens, we know the buyer demand is going to increase through the roof, which is going to create higher purchase prices. Yes, you're going to have a lower rate. However, if you take action now with the lower prices, you might have a higher rate, but you can always renew that and
Absolutely
get it lower once those rates do drop.
Yeah. And one of the things that I find interesting is that we felt like rates are going to hold. They're going to hold here for a little bit, but they will decrease as the year goes on. But just this morning, I received an email from a mortgage broker that I deal with, and it was for the first time in a long time that I've seen rates for a 5-year fix just under 5%. So you predicted last week that they'd be coming down, and look at what is already in just a week, what we're seeing.
I know. Yeah. It's going to be really interesting watching this first announcement unfold January 24th.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned. We'll feature that on whatever episode that date arrives on, but we will make
we
sure.
will bring it to you.
Yeah. We'll make sure to keep you informed.
Yeah.
So yes, no, it's super interesting. I mean, even if we're looking at the sale to list price ratio, it's sitting at 103. So
Things are selling over asking still. We're still seeing competitive offers. It really comes down to pricing the house right.
yes.
That's really what it comes down to.
Yep. No, totally.
And when we're talking about real estate, and I heard you talk about this just the other day, so I want to bring it up, and that is the importance of the network of professionals that we have around us in this industry and how that can make things so much smoother, not only for ourselves, but for our clients.
Yeah. So yes, this is something I'm passionate about. And I think, you know, we learn different things over the years from doing so many different transactions. And the one thing that throughout my experience, I keep coming back to is having a network of professionals in your corner that you can rely on to provide the same service of care that you would provide to your clients.
Yes.
They align with those morals and ethics and provide that same service. So these are people that you are not needing. I'm just going to use a mortgage broker, for example.
Yep.
I have had a situation where my client came to me with a previous mortgage provider that they were working with, which
Yep.
is fine. They were already pre-approved. However, the hiccup comes in when they get the accepted offer on the home and it's time to get that financing letter.
Yep.
And that mortgage broker is nowhere to be found. So there was no heads up that he was going to be away. There was no communication. There was nobody there to pick up that business.
Right.
So we didn't get the home. My client did not get that home. And that resulted in her just being devastated. So luckily, I have a list, as do you, of service professionals that I've continuously worked with throughout my years.
Yeah.
And they are so good at what they do. They communicate, they get the job done, and that at the end of the day is what you need. And if something is going to go, south or
Yep.
cause an issue,
Yep.
you want somebody who is proactive, can see it before it happens, so you can jump on it, resolve it, and get that transaction done effectively.
Absolutely. So I remember you also telling me about a scenario where the mortgage broker couldn't get the client approved, but then you switched them to one of your service professionals that you use, and they were able to get the transaction done.
Done without one hesitation, concern. It was just incredible, which makes you kind of wonder why there was an issue with one, but then this one was able to just kind of slide right in and get it done immediately.
Yeah.
So I understand that, there are people out there that are already pre-approved, and you could be with somebody that is fantastic to work with and they're responsive and they will get the job done. But it is also important to ask your real estate professional if they have any recommendations, if there's anybody that they can, reference that they've worked with and had a great experience with, because it is crucial in this business.
I think the important thing here is to understand that your real estate professional can guide you through and help you with those that you may need to work with that you don't know you need to work with yet. So when it comes to a lawyer, if you have one, wonderful. If you do not have one, that's okay too, because we have a network that we can recommend to you. So having that network of professionals just makes the overall transaction that much smoother.
All right, so let's get into another pain point topic now. And this is one that I think we will see become an increasing topic of conversation getting into the spring market, because my prediction, interest rates will drop, buyer demand will increase, inventory will remain low. So the people who are looking to seamlessly transition from one home, their current home, into another, while the demand is so high and competitive and the inventory is low.
Yeah.
What are their options, and how would you kind of advise somebody to seamlessly transition?
There are a number of options, surprisingly. And again, this all comes down to question and probing and having that initial interview set up as to, why someone is selling their home and how we're going to navigate as a whole. But the questions that I usually ask come down to what are you going to do or where are you going to go when your house sells? And then that is when I get that straight look of
Tear.
yeah, I've never thought of that. And we like to bring it up. You and I, we make sure that we bring that up because it's so important for a seller to know what they're going to do. So the first thing I ask is, okay, if we cannot find you a house right away, do you have friends or family that you can move in with? That's one question. That's one option. Another would be rental. So you could find a rental. Number 3, which is one that I really like and has worked really, really well, and that is prolonging the closing date. So when you are in a very competitive market, you have the option a lot of times, you're in the driver's seat, you get to pick your closing date. Everyone is asking the vendor, what is the vendor's preferred closing date? So with that, I like to prolong the closing date, put it out further so that it gives the buyer more time, or in this case, the seller who will become the buyer, more time.
To add to that too, another option could be just a standard conditional, so sale of buyer's home condition.
Yep.
You could also do a bridge loan, which is essentially bridging the gap from the time in between carrying 2 mortgages.
Absolutely. And I think that's an important option that a lot of people don't know of is the bridge financing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then another option would be if you qualify, if you have enough equity in your home, you can just purchase a secondary property and then use the previous one as a rental. Use that now as investment income.
I love that because with the way that the economy is right now, you may want to hang on to that property. So I love that option if it's affordable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's what it comes down to for every kind of plan, wherever you are and how you're getting to that next step. It is all about affordability and just setting yourself up for success.
Yeah.
So no, you guys, thank you so much for joining us for our second episode of Behind the Sold Sign, where we talk all things real estate.
Yes. So don't forget to like, comment, share. We appreciate that kind of support to our business, and we hope that you are enjoying our podcast so far.
And again, let us know in the comments if there's anything you want us to cover.
Yes.
And don't forget to push that subscribe button. See you next week.